The first gunshot shattered the silence of courtroom 4B. Lena Thornton didn't flinch. While everyone else ducked and screamed, she remained standing in the center aisle, her sharp eyes locked on the chaos unfolding before her .1 officer was down. Not dead, just clutching his shoulder, groaning. Two others scrambled toward the exits, shouting into their radios. And at the far end of the room, a man in a charcoal suit calmly reloaded his weapon. Lena's hand slipped into her inner jacket pocket. The worn leather of her badge brushed her fingers, but she didn't pull it out. No, not yet. Timing was everything. Nobody moved, the man barked. His voice boomed against the marble walls. His gun swept across the room. Jurors cowered. The judge ducked behind a bench. But Lena, she stepped forward. "You don't want to do this," she said, her voice clear and steady. The man's eyes snapped to her, surprised, maybe even impressed that someone dared to speak. "You with the cops?" he demanded. Lena tilted her head slightly, studying him. "I'm something different," she said. Behind her, a second figure, dressed in janitor's coveralls, moved. Not toward the exits like the others. Toward Lena. Silent, calculated. A hidden threat. She saw the motion from the corner of her eye, but kept her gaze locked on the gunman. One wrong move, and half the room would end up dead. "I'm just here for the truth," Lena continued. "And you're about to blow your chance to be heard." The man hesitated. His hand tightened on the gun, but it trembled slightly now. He wasn't just some thug. Not really. There was something else burning behind those bloodshot eyes. "Bullshit," he snarled. "They ain't never gonna listen to people like me." He jabbed the gun toward the judge's bench. "They already decided who's guilty. Ain't no point in talking." Lena took another step forward. "Maybe, but if you pull that trigger again, you'll never get to tell your side. They'll just paint you as another monster. Is that what you want?" The janitor was 3 feet behind her now. Lena could feel the shift in the air. She braced herself, and then, like a spark catching dry leaves, everything exploded at once. The janitor lunged. The gunman fired. Lena spun sideways, grabbing the janitor's wrist, twisting hard. A blade clattered to the ground. At the same moment, the gunshot cracked through the air, and a section of the ceiling rained dust and plaster onto the trembling jurors. Lena drove her elbow into the janitor's gut, sending him sprawling. She didn't even watch him fall. Her focus snapped back to the gunman that he stared at her, stunned. For a heartbeat, the whole world seemed to freeze. Then Lena did something no one expected. She tossed her badge onto the floor between them. IT skidded across the polished tiles, spinning once before settling face up. "FBI, Special Agent Lena Thornton." The gunman blinked, confused. The officers who had been hiding behind pews surged forward now, emboldened by the reveal. "Stand down," they shouted. "Drop the weapon." The man's arm sagged. His fingers loosened. The gun clattered to the floor. He dropped to his knees, head hanging. Lena moved quickly, kicking the weapon away before the others even reached him. As they swarmed to cuff the man, she bent down, speaking low into his ear. "You're not wrong," she whispered. "The system is broken, but there are better ways to fight." He looked up at her, hollow-eyed, almost grateful. Lena straightened and turned to face the room. People stared at her, some in awe, some in suspicion. She didn't care. She wasn't here to win their approval. From the front of the courtroom, a balding man in an expensive suit was watching her closely. District Attorney Julian Cade. His face was tight with fury and fear. Because he knew Lena wasn't just here by accident. She was here to destroy everything he had built on lies. She bent down and retrieved her badge, dusting it off with a faint smile. Then she pulled a small USB drive from her pocket, the real weapon she had brought to court today. Inside that drive was evidence, mountains of it. Bribes, cover-ups, false convictions, threats against witnesses. All tied back to Cade's office. Today was supposed to be a quiet hearing. Today was supposed to be routine. But Lena had no intention of letting routine continue. A door slammed open at the back of the courtroom. 6 men in dark suits poured in. Cade's private security. They didn't look like they were here to negotiate. Lena slipped the USB into her jacket and smiled coldly. "Let's dance," she muttered under her breath. And just like that, the real battle began. The city felt different the next morning. Gray clouds hung low over St. Louis, casting long, heavy shadows over streets that buzzed with rumors and tension. News outlets ran wild. District Attorney Julian Cade under investigation. While Lena Thornton moved like a ghost through the chaos she had unleashed, she knew it wasn't over. Not even close. The flash drive she had smuggled out of the courthouse contained enough to bury Cade's career. But careers were one thing. Power was another. And men like Cade didn't fall quietly. Lena sat in a nondescript cafe, a laptop open before her, coffee cooling at her side. Across the table, a wiry man with sharp eyes watched the door. Malcolm Reyes, an old friend from her undercover days, and one of the few people she trusted. "You sure about this?" Malcolm asked, tapping the USB drive between them. Lena nodded, her jaw tight. "He's already sending people after me. I'm not running anymore. We hit him now while he's bleeding." Malcolm grinned, teeth flashing. "Now you're speaking my language." Together, they uploaded everything to a secure server. Within minutes, copies of the evidence were sent to federal prosecutors, media outlets, and a handful of trusted allies in Washington. Lena didn't want to just expose Cade. She wanted to make sure he couldn't bury it again. As the file sent, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number," she answered cautiously. "Lena Thornton speaking." A gravelly voice responded. "You think you've won?" Her spine stiffened. "Cade," he chuckled, low and bitter. "You embarrassed me. Cost me everything. You have no idea what you've done." "I know exactly what I've done," Lena said. "And so does the whole damn country." For a second, only breathing. Then Cade said, almost kindly, "You should leave town. Tonight. While you still can." The line went dead. Lena looked at Malcolm. His smile was gone. "They'll come hard," he said. "You ready?" She stood, pocketing the flash drive. "Been ready my whole life." By nightfall, the city was boiling over. Protests erupted outside the courthouse. News crews captured images of police officers being led away in cuffs. The governor announced an emergency session. The people had found their voice, and they weren't letting go. Lena, meanwhile, wasn't done yet. She and Malcolm slipped through back alleys, careful of every shadow. Cade's private security was still out there, and they were desperate. Their target now was Cade's private office, a penthouse fortress atop one of the city's oldest towers. Rumor had it, he kept physical copies of his blackmail material there. Insurance. If they could get it, they could burn down the last of his empire to the base of the tower. Malcolm pulled out a small device, a scrambler, and grinned. "Let's ruin his night," he said. They moved fast. Floor by floor. Avoiding cameras. Knocking out guards. Lena's adrenaline sang through her veins like wildfire. Finally, they reached the penthouse. Lena kicked the door open and found Julian Cade waiting, a gun in his hand. He looked broken, sweating, furious, but still dangerous. "I built this city," he spat. "You think they'll let you tear it down?" Lena leveled her weapon at him, steady as stone. "We didn't build anything," she said. "You poisoned it. Now it's time to pay." Cade's hand twitched. A decision flickered across his face, surrender or fight, that he chose wrong. The flash of his muzzle was blinding in the dark. But Lena was faster. One shot. Center mass. Cade collapsed to the ground, gasping. Malcolm rushed to the safe in the corner, while Lena kept her gun trained on Cade's trembling form. Inside the safe, they found it. Files, tapes, bank records. The real rot beneath the surface. Proof of years of corruption, not just Cade's crimes, but an entire network of dirty judges, cops, politicians. Enough to burn it all down. Lena stood over Cade, heart pounding. He tried to speak, but blood filled his mouth. She leaned down, cold and clear-eyed. No more monsters hiding behind badges. He went still that it was over. 2 weeks later, the headline screamed of revolution. Federal agents flooded St. Louis. Dozens of officials were arrested. Trials began. Families who had waited years for justice finally had their day in court. Lena Thornton became a name whispered with respect and fear in halls of power across the country. But she didn't stay. One crisp morning, she left the city behind, a duffel bag over her shoulder and a new badge in her pocket, one that didn't belong to any agency. One she made for herself, because the war wasn't over. Not yet. Wherever injustice lived, wherever power crushed the powerless, Lena Thornton would be there, a ghost, a reckoning, a promise. The final oath had been made, and it would not be broken.